with the Republican stimulus package having been introduced by the Senate, including a $2,000 per month reduction in the emergency unemployment insurance. A new study has come out to disprove the very notion behind the Republican cut. So now the Republicans, again, are claiming that this $600 benefit, right, $600 per week additional federal benefit, since it pays people more to sit home, that it basically deters people, disincentivizes people from going back to work. So Republicans say people are choosing to sit on their ass and collect that free government money because, you know, they're lazy or they're getting paid more. And so why would you go back to that? Now, look, on its face, it's like, yeah, what, you know what? If you're getting paid a lot more money, why would you go back to work? Well, that's assuming that most people are lazy. There are some lazy people, but most people, no, not necessarily. And that's also reflected in this study. So now the other thing is trying to pit essential workers versus people who are unemployed through no fault of their own because of coronavirus closures, right? I think essential workers need to get paid more. I think everybody deserves a living wage for doing work. You know, if you work, you deserve to live off your wages. That makes sense economically and morally. But again, going back to that notion that Republicans are trying to paint, it's not true. According to researchers, economists at Yale University, there's actually no evidence that the $600 weekly benefits reduce unemployment. So it's just simply not true. Findings suggested that in the aggregate, the expanded benefits neither encouraged layoffs during the pandemic's onset, nor did they deter people from returning to work once businesses began to reopen. So now, according to, like I said, what was written in the study, workers facing larger expansions in unemployment insurance benefits have returned to their previous jobs over time at similar rates as others. So even if you're getting that additional benefit, that extra $600, you're making more money, you still return to work at the same rate as everybody else. And of course, there's a reason for that. But they said, we find no evidence that more generous benefits disincentivize work either at the onset of the expansion or as firms look to return to business over time. In future research, they say, it will be important to assess whether the same results hold when states move to reopen. So, well, I'm pretty sure I didn't know the answer to that, right? And it's the way that it's set up. If your boss calls you back and you refuse, you lose your unemployment benefits. I actually don't disagree with that, right? They call you to work and they say, hey, look, we got a job waiting for you. You got your job back. Come back and work. And you say, oh, no, I'm unemployment benefits. What are you talking about? Of course I'm going to collect money. Well, the law says you can't actually do that. Okay. So you got to go back. If you want to make money, if you want to have your job, if you want to live and pay your bills, then yeah, you go back to work, right? So now, secondly, here's the other benefit, right? So of having this money. The enhanced benefits, they all get spent back in the local economy. Okay. And that actually protects jobs in the long run. I mean, interestingly enough, I see a lot of conservatives that support the Republican benefit cuts saying, well, we are giving you too much. And if you are stupid and you can't save money, all that money, that free money that we were giving you the whole time, and now you can't pay your bills, well, that's your fault. You should have budgeted better. Well, now hold on here. Again, studies have shown that most people, the vast majority, actually spend all of that money on bills and things that they need, right? And so they don't hoard it because they use that to pay their bills. It all gets spent back into the economy. That's good. That's actually better for our service-based economy than it is to hoard the money. And so there's that. Okay. Now, of course, in order to continue helping our economy to get through this crisis, coronavirus, right, and the economic downturn, you should make sure that money is in people's pockets. And how do you do that? Stimulus. It's really simple. I say UBI, right? Income guarantee. You put money into people's pockets and they will go out and they will spend it. And that is a good tool to keep up demand and to keep people in their jobs. So now we're refusing to do that, though, obviously. Look, the one-time $1,200 stimulus, or now it might be two, right? Depending on if this fourth stimulus package actually passes, what that does is, that provides a kind of a nice temporary boost, right? But it falls short of what we actually need to avoid an economic depression, especially on the other side of this virus. What we need is the plan proposed by moderate Tim Ryan and progressive Ro Khanna to temporarily give people $2,000 a month and pair it with a rent and mortgage freeze. So they continue to spend that money right back into the community and to continue keeping the essential workers at work, and then to promote job creation or at least job retention when things open back up. Because right now, a lot of small businesses have gone out of business, and a lot of small businesses will likely go out of business later on, will not be able to reopen those doors. And of course, that's a lot of jobs that are going to be lost. And by the way, the companies that have restarted opening businesses, some of the restaurants and things, right now they're only filled to half capacity, so they're not able to open back up fully right now. And so again, there are still less jobs out there than there were before because of the coronavirus shutdown. And so there's that. Now, I say rent and mortgage freeze, right? Because we have to do that rent and mortgage freeze. Because right now, if we do nothing about this, or we go with the Republican plan, which is very Spartan, right? We're going to end up seeing a lot of evictions. 11 to 12 million people will lose their shelter, their homes. That's a national emergency and a humanitarian crisis. Where are these people going to go? They lose their homes, right? They're going to go to streets during a pandemic. And I bet you, if they are, if this is what happens, right, I'm going to be happy that the government did next to nothing to help them. And so you think Portland's bad? No, wait till you get millions of people in the streets because they just lost their only place to live. Not good. So let me give you some more of the details on this, right? So now the researchers used weekly data from something called Homebase. Now, that's a company that provides timesheet software and scheduling to small businesses across the U.S. So they basically recorded their findings of people going to work, right? And that's how they were able to find their data. Now, the data does not show a relationship between benefit generosity and employment paths after the CARE Act, which could be due to the collapse of labor demand during the COVID-19 crisis, according to Joseph Altanji, the Thomas DeWitt Collier Professor of Economics in the Faculty of Arts and Sciences and a co-author of the report. The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago also found a similar trend, according to MarketWatch. Those currently collecting benefits search more than twice as intensely as those who have exhausted their benefits. So again, there's a possible explanation, of course, to that. If you get to the point of running out of benefits, most likely you have exhausted the opportunities in your area. And you might have to wait or do odd jobs that are not recorded, that are under the table, to be able to survive. That said, Democrats have already passed the HEROES Act like months ago that would have addressed this, at least partly, right? And basically what they did is they extended the $600, does another round of $1,200 check. It gives some funding to the states, gives some funding to the post office, things that are basically the minimum. And they're not really rising to meet the crisis head on, but they're doing more than the Republicans, which is, I guess, not really that great of an argument for Democrats. But the Republicans, here's what they want. They want liability protection for corporations so that they can protect their corporate donors when they bring people back to work, which look, we all want people to get back to work, right? Uh, but they're thinking that, well, I mean, if people get back to work, then they get sick at work, well, then they're going to sue their employer. Well, I mean, look, I understand that is a concern, right? But here's the thing: if you can prove that you've taken all the necessary measures to protect your employees, then what judge is really going to agree with you, right? But understand that taking those precautions, that's expensive. But if you have liability protection for 5 years, well, then you're pretty much covered. You don't have to buy protection for your employees. And if they get sick, just hire another one, because there's going to be a pretty large labor pool once this is over. And so I think that's the overall aim for this, right? So that's the Republican priority, which is Mitch McConnell's priority. But then you also have lots of money going towards buying F-35s. What do F-35s have to do with the coronavirus? I mean, okay, I guess, sure, you're going to keep some defense contractors in their job and getting money. Okay. And then they're going to build a new FBI headquarters. Ooh, lovely, among other things, right? And so their plan is kind of like divorced from the economic reality and pretty far out there, right? So now the Democrats. Here we go. The Democrats are already saying, well, I mean, you know what? On the $600, we're going to, we can compromise. Already, we can compromise. House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer, here's what he said. Look, it's not $600 or bust. Pelosi said the other day, which I thought was a great line, we don't have red lines. We have values. We're going into these negotiations with values. Oh, how is it that even now the Democrats can suck so bad at politics? Oh, we lead with our values. Talk about bullshit slogans. Come on, dude. How are you so bad at being the opposition party? Like when Republicans were the opposition party, they're like, oh, that's cute. You want to do an unemployment extension? Well, you know what we want to do? We want to rip off your head and like drink your blood through your neck hole if you don't side with us. And Democrats are like, we lead with our values. We should come together in a spirit of bipartisanship. No, no, you actually have to be tough. My God, man. Look, everybody can see that the Republicans are putting the lives of millions of people on the line, right? And the only reason is so that they can get their corporate liability provision, so they can push people to go back to work sooner than we should. But they don't care about the death toll from coronavirus. They don't care how many people get sick and have permanent damage to their body after they recover. Because, yes, a lot of conservatives will point out, well, coronavirus is a gigantic recovery rate, right? Okay, but there's still probably tens of millions of people who will recover who will have permanent lasting damage for the rest of their lives. I'm talking heart problems, lung problems, liver problems, was it liver or kidney issues? Look, and we don't even know what the long-term impacts of having coronavirus is going to have on the body, because guess what? We haven't had time to study it. And so these are significant issues. And so, yeah, you're going to have tens of millions of people who now, will need medical care, which they're not going to get from obviously Republicans. And they're certainly not going to get it from Democrats either, because Joe Biden and the rest of the Democratic establishment can't even agree that healthcare is a human right. We should have Medicare for all. Yeah. And so there's that. So we have a center-right party, and then we have a pro-corporate death cult. And all the Democrats can do is say, but guys, we lead with our values.